Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Navtastic, podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Mr. Fernandes, and
I'm Chris Jayawardena. Hello.
And we're going to review Fat City Holiday, which is from season 5 of Laverne and Shirley. Joel Zwick directed this one, and Roger Garrett wrote it. And we're going to get to some facts about them later on.
Yeah.
Here's what the episode's about. Everyone but the girls are escaping Milwaukee for a Columbus Day weekend adventure. Envious of Carmine, Edna, and Frank's vacations, the girls decide to split too. Charmed by the word free in an ad for Pounds of Gold Health Spa located in scenic Whitefish Valley, the girls sign up to be weight loss counselors. Figuring the required strict dietary measures will be a walk in the park, they say yes, thinking they'll be able to sneak food in to snack on. Unfortunately, not only are their goodies locked up by Mrs. Latimer, the head of the spa, they are forced to eat the same starvation-level portions as their trainees. They also must deal with Bambi, a fellow counselor who wants them gone for applying for the same job she promised to get her sisters. Bambi vows to make their lives miserable. Will the girls survive Bambi and the diet? So what do you think of this episode?
Well,
yeah.
I'm trying to, I feel bad that I didn't come up with a bit for this episode because this one definitely deserves a bit. I don't know, maybe just to confront it head on and say, it at least wasn't as fat shaming as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
The joke is more at the expense of the people who are running the Fat City Holiday, whatever, Pounds of Gold weight loss program thing. It's more at their expense, and the character of Bambi definitely leans more into that. So it was. We'll get to it, and I'm not entirely sure if to say if it was just okay or if it was good. I'm not entirely sure yet. Yeah. It definitely mixed feelings at this moment.
I'm glad generally that they do not mock. I hope they don't mock the overweight campers that are at the spa who are there to get thinner. In fact, one of the guys even gets to triumph and lose weight. Triumph, so to speak. For quantity of triumphing, that's a good news. So but we're looking at the girls and we can see how toned and thin they are. So watching them do all this is painful in a way because you've heard them call themselves fat before, and it's like, no, I'm looking at you. You're not fat. I know. I look down and I know what fat is, honey. So
yeah. Totally. I think I've mentioned this on the show before that, I have a friend. I will not name this friend, but he gets upset and it's like, oh, I'm gaining so much weight. And I cock my head and look at him and it's like, do you see me when you look at yourself in the mirror there, buddy? Because one of us is Belushi and the other is Aykroyd in the Blues Brothers. And I think you got it mixed up who's who here.
I could floss my teeth with you.
That's even better. Yeah, there we go.
I'm glad that it's kept and pitched at that level. I'm glad that ultimately it's about the girls' hubris. Because they think they're just going to breeze through this and it's going to be an actual vacation. And instead they have to work for it. And to the point where they're happy to lock themselves up in a locker with a bunch of Twinkies at the end of the week. Not the weekend.
Right, the weekend, yeah. And it's, to be honest, at the conclusion, it feels very earned, It's like they kind of earned it. They went through it and they survived. I mean, you go through that workout montage and it's like, oh my God, if they were not eating for 24 hours to do this activity, they would probably die.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that level.
It's not healthy.
Yeah, at all.
To what you were saying also about the hubris and trying to do this getaway, I found this in some respects almost like a pseudo sequel or a spiritual successor to Guinea Pigs in some respects.
Yeah. Guinea Pigs, they are just about as equally less altruistically motivated and get the same kind of results. Though, in a way, the results they get in Guinea Pigs are better for them. It's healthier for them, and at least they get something out of it. Laverne gets to make out with the guy. Shirley gets to eat. In this case, they just get to eat some. Which in the end is all they really want. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet it's also an episode where, as we're saying, like it has kind of like what we were saying last episode. There's little details that, like, in this case, sort of more mitigate the potential disaster that this episode could have been. Like I had very low expectations for this going in.
Yeah.
You had warned me about a year ago that this was coming, and I was going, oh no. And but like an interesting example is that, like, when Rollo, the guy who they find, outside their bedroom, their dorm, he has a banana. It's not even that he necessarily snuck in bad food. He actually snuck in something rather healthy.
Yeah. The fat characters are not treated cruelly compared to how the girls are treated, which makes it a little bit better. It makes it another slobs versus snobs episode, in which the ultimate victory is triumphant over the people who want to hold them down. And they do make it. They do survive that. So in the end, it works out.
They're doing it their way.
Doing it their way. Making their dreams come true, even though, in this case, their dreams are just to slowly stuff a Twinkie in their own mouth.
Yeah. Or what is it you called it? 7 minutes and Twinkie? Or something like that?
Yeah, isn't that what I called it when we watched it the first time? 7 minutes Twinkie. Yeah.
Oh no, here it is. 7 minutes and cookies, but both still count. Yeah.
Yeah. Relatable. I think we've all felt that way about cookies at some point in our lives.
Oh goodness,
unless you really don't like cookies. You're allergic to cookies, or possibly could be allergic to wheat or something. I don't know. I don't know listener base. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, well, as a gluten-free, dairy-free person for health reasons, it is an interesting endeavor, especially when you try to have low-carb cookies, because so you remember I mentioned last week at the end of the last episode that I was going to go get a cookie. Well, about that. They were gone, and I resorted to my father's low carb cookies, and it was pretty okay.
Yeah. We all have to make sacrifices sometimes. Sometimes we just eat the hydroxes that our parents left behind.
Sometimes you gotta have the last chocolate chip out of the fat snacks. Anyway.
Yeah. In my case, my father buys a thing of Oreos, and I will want Oreos, and he's not eating the Oreos, so I'll just take the Oreos and then tell him about it later. But this episode could be worse. It really could be worse. The fat jokes that Lenny and Squiggy make aren't the best, but they're Lenny and Squiggy, and in show canon, generally can be moronic. So, it's not the most, It's not the best possible look for a show doing this kind of episode. It's not the worst. It could be worse. It really could be. Yeah.
Could be raining.
Yeah, it could be raining. Could be a blizzard. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm trying to think of kind of something that also wraps up sort of the initial thoughts. And one thing I also found interesting was you pointed out that everyone is miserable at the end. No one had a good weekend.
Yep. Even worse, presumably. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if that works.
I think it kind of does. But, plot line wise, no, it doesn't, because everybody's unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even Lenny and Squiggy still in some kind of police lockup. Did nobody bother to get them out?
Well, what do you figure? They just probably brought, they did have one of those salamis under Lenny's jacket. Maybe they just bribed the cop to get out.
Possibly.
You never know.
Possibly.
It's like my wife wants to start a sandwich shop. It's like, hey, I got a nice little piece of salami here for your wife. What are you talking about? Hey, yeah, can't see. Oh, it's a good cut of meat. All right, here's the key. Don't tell nobody. And that man turned out to be Norman Hughes.
Good old Norman. I was gonna make a joke about melons, but that was too filthy even for me. Anyway, it's gonna be a joke about melons, but yeah, we never find out what happens to the boys, and pretty much everyone ends up miserable. Carmine was going on this cruise to teach old ladies how to dance. It does not work out well for him. Edna and Frank go off on vacation together. They are miserable, and they bring back petrified dead squirrels for the girls. To the horror of Shirley.
The petrified squirrel, yes, but the very cute bat hat for Laverne.
I love that bat hat. That bat hat is adorable. That is so cute.
I kind of want one.
Me too, honestly, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that as we were watching the episode. Oh, that's adorable. I wish I had that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's I was thinking of us doing like like different like watching for different things in the episodes, and now I'm realizing like the Squealy Shirley animal lover thing, like the element of the petrified squirrels and it's a great the horror on Shirley's face and it's Cindy's delivery of those screams and squeals are just incredibly good.
Yeah. Honestly, whenever she does that, I wonder what she was like in that horror movie that she did. Which we neither of us have watched yet.
Yeah. By the time this episode goes up, hopefully we'll have seen it.
Yeah, knock wood. Knock wood. This will be months and months ahead of where we are so far. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet as of now, as of the taping. This taping. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that does work narratively. Honestly, narratively, the end, I think it could end at that fat camp. The fat camp. At the spa. They've succeeded. They're alone with the Twinkies. The show ends pretty decently there.
Mm-hmm.
And the taxi where everybody's miserable isn't really necessary in a way. The way the girls had the best vacation out of all of them, because at least they triumphed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something good happened.
And I wonder if that's part of the idea is that everyone's kind of abandoning them and leaving them behind, especially the, it's the, and at least you got Carmine to keep you company. And it's, you're stuck all weekend. You got Carmine to keep you company. And then there's the Carmine knock. And and it's like, I'm sure I'll have a wonderful time waiting for you. So we got to get out of this town. That's great moment, and I wonder if that's kind of what the angle of the ending is supposed to be, is the kind of comeuppance, I guess, possibly. I'm shaking my hands, kind of wibbly, like, Frank, I don't know anybody about these people. What do they want from me?
Nobody knows what's happening. Nobody.
Everybody's miserable. I don't know. Why don't they just order a pizza? Oh, God, I should have ordered a pizza for dinner tonight.
Oh, God, now I'm hungry. I got a frozen pizza in the freezer, but I'm going to make spaghetti tonight, as I told you. Off podcast, yes. Anyway. But, yeah, the girls' utter confidence here is what's interesting. They are absolutely confident that they're going to make it all the way through this, and it's going to be easy, and then they have to sweat it out in multiple ways to get to that ending. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Arguably,
the best scene is the boys' scene. That's really that. We'll cover that in pros and cons.
Yeah, I think so. I do have. Before we kind of jump into like the behind the scenes a little bit, I do have a nice little initial thought from my mom, which got a huge laugh out of the 4 basic food groups that include cookies, cakes, and candies. And my mother calls it, she says, "Oh, that's like me, the seafood diet, because it's all started with the letter C."
Bless. Your mom's the best.
Yeah, so I thought you'd get a good kick out of that. She also really liked that the conclusion was really about defeating this, as you're saying, the snobby villain for reporting Bambi for abuse, and she really appreciated how they didn't get too mean with, like, even she didn't like how they get mean as well with the fat guy, even though the episode tried to treat with a certain degree of sympathy. But she said it really showed how it it shows how these kind of places are just cruel and ineffective, really.
Yeah, honestly does. Honestly, he gets treated with more dignity and respect than the girls do. It's worth noting that. Why, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, anyway, I think that moves us into the folks behind the episode to maybe perhaps understand a little bit of where some of this comes from.
Yes, it does.
So, this episode was written by Roger Garrett, who total atom bomb dropped on me while I was trying to look up their credits on IMDb as we were starting this episode. I'd already done this research that he was the writer on Anniversary show Wraparound Segments, and after this would go on to write 7 more episodes for the show. He was also responsible for the infamous Why Did the Fireman, The Mummy's Bride, Helmet Weekend, and Born Too Late. He also wrote Hollywood Parts 1 and 2 for Happy Days. Oh boy. He later worked on as a producer on My Two Dads and Empty Nest, and we'll get back to him in time. However, I made a strange discovery on IMDb. There are 2 Roger Garretts. Now, it can be in rare occurrences that there's the same person with the same name ends up on the same show. There's another Roger Garrett that is credited as an actor, including, a bit part on Bewitched, a bit part on I Dream of Jeannie, a bit part in The Grasshopper, and a certain Mr. Pulper.
Oh, interesting.
So for those that, do you want to let folks know who Mr. Pulper is to refresh their memory?
I'm gonna let you do it. You go for it.
Okay, all right. Thanks, hon.
You refresh it.
So this actor Roger Garrett played Mr. Pulper, who was the kind of wacky but rather mischievous character in Oh Hear the Angels' Voices, aka was it Christmas Time at the Booby Hatch, where he was a person who liked to pretend to be other people, and pretends to be a doctor, pretends to be a police officer, and so on and so forth. Which means that, given the timing, because Oh Hear the Angels' Voices comes around the point of the episode anniversary show, there's a good possibility that was kind of his end to work on the show and work on the program. Because the interesting thing is, this Roger Garrett actor stopped acting in 1976 with Mr. Pulper. So for anyone wondering why this sometimes happens, with IMDb, when you put information and like metadata in, you kind of have to assign a name to a certain name, and you can accidentally create a duplicate incredibly easily. I've nearly had this happen to myself in a couple of cases when I'm trying to get credit. So it turns out that there is basically the version of Roger Garrett that only did producing and like one acting role on It's a Living, or there is the Roger Garrett that did acting from the 60s and 70s. So this is just a theory. I'm going to do further research when we get to another Roger Garrett episode. This is probably the same guy, which unfortunately means he passed away at the age of 60 in 2000.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Moving on, the director of this episode obviously was Joel Zwick. So I gained a lot of fascinating information from another podcast that recently interviewed Joel called the Nonsense News Nation podcast interview. He has an interesting quote, and this is I tried not to copy this verbatim, but a really interesting story about Joel. So as we discussed a few episodes ago, he was the director of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Here's the interesting story about how that came about. He apparently found Tom Hanks for Bosom Buddies as pilot because Tom was working as an understudy in a stage production that Joel was familiar with. So he gets in touch with Tom, and basically recommended him for Bosom Buddies, and kind of helps, connections to getting people to connect together. And he helps Tom, get onto bosoms, and, he continues on his own career. He gets in touch with Tom in the late 90s because Joel at this point had been doing TV for, 30 plus years, getting ready to hop out of TV and do feature films. And sure enough, Tom at the time was developing Nia Vardalos' script. And he sent Joel the script. And even though Tom ended up exiting the project, Joel stayed on and ended up directing it. And the rest is history there.
That is so cool. That's so neat.
Yeah. So, and in terms of other folks behind and now in front of the camera, we have some notes on our guest stars today. So we have Susan Kellerman as Bambi, the she-doe of the SS. So Sally Kellerman got some small parts on Starsky and Hutch, and then this appearance on Laverne and Shirley is kind of the sort of a line of TV roles that she got that helped her eventually land a recurring role in 3 episodes of Taxi as Latka's mom.
Oh, that's her. That's cool.
Interesting connection. Those episodes were also directed by James Burrows.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
After this, after Kellerman does those parts, she does a string of TV movies, guest spot appearances, and she shows up in a lot of interesting. Her film career tends to include spooky movies. She's in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. She's in Beetlejuice, and she's in Devil's Advocate.
No way! That is cool. That is so cool.
Anywho,
oh man, I had no idea she's an Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's really cool. I'll off pod. I'll let you know the character name and see if you can connect it. I haven't seen the movie yet.
Awesome.
I need to watch it.
You need to see that. Have you seen Elvira's Haunted Hills yet?
Am I still going to be in a relationship no matter what my answer is?
Of course.
Okay, that's no. I have not seen it yet.
You see them both. They're both good. Elvira's so much fun. She has so much fun with her personality and her vibe and her look and her character. And both movies are a lot of fun because she doesn't take herself seriously, and the narrative has fun with her, and they're good. They're both great. They're great. You should see them.
I should.
Yes, you should.
Moving on, Donovan Scott plays as Rollo, the pudgy dude. This was his first acting gig, so saith IMDb. He appeared shortly after in Spielberg's 1941. He would also get small bit parts in Altman's Popeye, the first 3 Police Academy movies, Psycho 3, and a regular part on Life with Lucy in the 1980s, and a bit of a smattering of other small TV and movie roles throughout the years. He most recently dropped in on an episode of Superstore. I can't speak. And as of this recording, is slated to be in Y'all Are Family. I have no idea what that is, but I don't know. We'll find out what the hell the show is when it comes out.
Deal.
Yeah. And then lastly, for guest star is Rosemary Prinz as Mrs. Latimer, owner of the facility. She was the cool thing about having Rosemary Prinz here, folks will remember, folks who are familiar with old TV, she was a soap star who started in the 1950s on the short-lived First Love, which I now realize that a short-lived sitcom can include 38 episodes. My God.
Yes. Yeah.
She then landed a regular role as the World Turns that she would return to across 4 decades. Wow. She plays Penny Hughes in 65-68. She returns in 85-87. And yep, Penny Hughes in 2000 to 2001. She was also in All My Children and How to Survive a Marriage. And this role in this episode is one of about a dozen parts that she play outside of the soap scene. But otherwise, it's pretty much all soap operas for her.
That is so cool. And I remember that character on As the World Turns. That's amazing. Awesome. I did not recognize her. That's so cool. That is so cool.
I had a feeling you'd recognize it. I was really excited to give you that information.
Yeah,
anyway.
I love it.
So that kind of covers our sort of behind the scenes guest star sort of thing and those sort of details. So we covered the noteworthy animal love, sort of thing. Please don't hurt the baby animals, don't hurt the wee little squirrels. So what other stuff do we have to call out today?
Well, we do have enough fun hello gag. Oh
yes.
Yeah.
God, what was the setup for that one? Actually, I don't know if I have that written down.
Spoiled. It's about spoiled. Wasn't it spoiled meat? Spoiled meat and spoiled vegetables. Spoiled meat and rotten vegetables. Spoiled meat and rotten vegetables. Bam. Hello. I'll double check that before this goes to press, so to speak. But yeah, I was gonna say the boys are truly the best part of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The boys are, because they're hilarious, and of course, only Squiggy would think he's a mob boss, running around the spa, bringing food to people who are overweight, and getting money off of it. And the boys tried, of course, to turn this into a sexual favor from the girls of some sort, making out or whatever, in trade for food. And of course, Laverne seizing Squiggy by the hairworm and twisting. That's great.
That is in my notes. I freaking love that bit. It's so good.
My good girl.
Yeah, and when watching this episode with my mother, because my note was, you tell them, Cheryl, they are despicable. And when she says despicable, my mom just calmly just goes, yup. And the scowl on my mother's face at the pudgy little faces, see the joy in their fat little eyes. Oh, it could just melt titanium with that glare.
Your mom's the best.
She mad.
Once again, your mom is the best. Yeah. The physicality here is amazing. Michael grabbing Cindy by the head and leapfrogging over her as the girls try to grab him is great. Oh,
that was nuts. This is so nuts. I love the setup of that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You got a thought.
I was going to say, that's probably one of the most physical things he does on the show. He has a lot of physical things. That's one of the most athletically impressive.
Yeah, that whole set piece, even just the setup of the argument, and then Lenny, and Lenny does the stupidest thing. And I even have my note, Lenny, don't show them that many wares, because as soon as he opens it up, they go crazy. And it's like, of course they're going to go, because it's, it's like, flashing cash, out in public. It's like, what are you doing?
Yep. He is not thinking is what he's doing.
Yeah,
He has failed to think again.
Yeah, once more we have
try-
a very much a scheme between the boys, which I find really interesting. I kind of like and kind of don't. I'm not sure how I feel about it at this point.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well, Squiggy says the joy on their faces is enough, and plus they get money. But you wonder why they think this is a good idea, because they could end up going to jail, and they pretty much, I don't know what happens to them. They just get kicked out, and they spend the rest of their time just running around the Lake Whitefish area, trying to figure out what's good to do next.
Yes, and beautiful Lake Whitefish or Whitefish Lake, California, Wisconsin.
Yep, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was interesting though with seeing them doing this, because it's like as I said, I don't know what to think about them always scheming like this, because I can see it getting old really fast. And I know that they've schemed a bunch in the past, but it's been very regular. Like every single episode, they've got some cockamamie scheme that is going to sort of define who they are. You know, that they're always trying to get out for a buck or something like that. And they always do it in some nefarious way. And it's almost like they're trying to use them as like the evil version of the girls in a way. Yeah. Sort of like the Powerpuff Girls versus...
version of them. Funhouse mirror version of them. Yeah, they kind of are in a lot of ways. But this season actually adds a lot of depth to them. There's a lot that happens in this season. We'll get to it. Testing is in this season, which you have already seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you liked.
I'm zipping my lip until the episode comes.
Duke of Squigman's in this season. Beatnik Show is in this season, which is really good. You Push Me Too Far is in this season, which is really good. And About the Boys. They do get a lot of nice showcase episodes this time out. There's a couple of schemy ones that really work, though. They're coming up, but we'll see how you feel about them. But they they continue to be less one note as time goes on. You just have to wait for it to happen. We can't not talk about the infamous line, "I'm just trying to get out with my melons intact."
Aren't we all, Len? Aren't we all?
Yep. Aren't we all? And then Squiggy desperately calls him to help, and he just grabs the woman's other arm and goes, "I'm not a leader." Honey.
I love that.
Honey.
Yep.
Honey.
Lenny Hun. Yeah, it's good. I guess what I don't know how to feel with the schemes, but I will say the characterizations in this episode are just completely on point for them. And it's definitely one of the strongest. Yep. I also like how it adds the my note is the boys are running a racket, go figure, and Thinspo is pro-fascist.
Oh gosh. Oh god. True. Ooh,
yeah,
true.
I said what I said.
True. Yeah. I was going to point out that you will notice when the boys are about to leave without showing off their wares, all Laverne has to do is yell, "Hey!" He stops. He turns around. Yeah. Putty.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a pro in this episode. Now, I didn't think of it that way, but you are correct.
Just that I love it when that happens, when she does that. It happens a lot in the season, actually. She will say that, she'll just say his name in that tone, and he immediately stops doing whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Reacting to his most respected of neighbors, in quote unquote. We'll get there in a few episodes. You will enjoy it, I think. I hope.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
But it's in terms of other pros, the gag goes on too long, but the noodle worming their way to freedom was incredibly well done throughout, for the whole thing. It's a point of pride humor that, gets a little struggling. Like, cause I mean, my question, my mom asked this. I remember I asked this of you, and it's like, are they going to get out? Why are they still here? And your response was point of pride. And I was like, it's the waste.
Yeah.
But that being said, physical comedy is perfect and incredibly skilled. I mean, I don't know why I was reminded of the game General Jousting, but that's, I guess it's me. That's on me.
But I was going to say that whole sequence where they're wrapped up and they have to use each other to be able to like, slide off their racks, stand up, and then go over to the lockers is masterfully done. That's just good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And incredibly memorable for a lot of people who watch the show. Yeah, it's a good. Without the physical bits and without the learning and squiggy bits, this would just be an episode.
Yeah.
It's not particularly like memorable morality wise, but it's got some memorable physical stuff that continues to ring bells.
It's a very yeah, and the whole like as we're also talking about this point of pride and this element that kind of cheapens the episode is the whole idea that they go through all of this and decide not to eat. We could have left this place 2 days ago, but we didn't because we didn't want her to think we're quitters. If you eat that, then she wins.
Yeah. That's what you could have gone with. We'll go with it. No, it's doing Twinkies now. And I get that that's for the easy joke, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's part of it's an easy joke, and it's because I feel like not to compare the writers or pit the writers against each other, but like I'm thinking of like David Duclos and how he would add these sort of moments of poignancy and weight, and the reality of their situation is that they deserve to eat because they didn't really technically sign up for this crap. It basically was about this turned it into torture. This was them trying to either get a little bit of a spa treatment, and sure, it there is hubris, there is sort of a it very much feels like this kind of very mid-century all-American pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's no such thing as a free lunch, which is kind of what this is trying to say. And obviously in this time and age, and we're recording this still during the pandemic. I'm currently, as I live in Portland, I mean, I'm seeing the homeless situation getting really bad out here as an example. Saying that there's no such thing as a free lunch is incredibly privileged, cruel, and it leads to terrible things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody just needs to be given everything for free all the time. I mean, certainly the way that our economic system has been constructed, that's very difficult to justify, because it just doesn't make things realistic. But yeah, I just don't like how this sort of confirms and sort of affirms that belief. And so anyway, so that's a big knock against this episode for me, was that conclusion. And it's made up for a bit in taking down Bambi, shooting Bambi dead with a death glare.
Yes, accurate.
But so my mom I have a comment from my mother about the conclusion. She said that she liked how they ended it where abusing people like this is wrong and made that message clear. When you check yourself in to improve yourself, that they then mistreat you, that's wrong. That's the lesson of the episode. You should be telling the management or sue or just whatever. Yeah. And that's kind of, I don't know. That's my opinion, and that's also how I feel. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling at this point. Do we want to talk about the camera landing on Eddie's charms, as you put it?
Yeah. Yes, we do. Bong. Right on certain areas of his body. Certain rather curvaceous body.
So, when I saw Carmine in this shot, junk shot just kept echoing in my head every time.
Yo, man. All I can think of is this really great anecdote from the filming of the first Superman movie. They were watching dailies. Everything looked great. And the costume designer comes up to Richard Donner and she says, "We have to fix the costume. His junk keeps flying back and forth in his suit while he's walking, and it's so noticeable."
Oh no!
So that's what they had to do. They had to sew a cup into Christopher Reeve's suit because his wang was flying back and forth during action scenes.
Oh my god. Now this really makes me wonder about Alan Moore and it was Dave Gibbons, I think, the artist for Watchmen, and Dr. Manhattan, and it's like the line in Heavy Metal goes. He's just going around with his dork hanging out.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh my.
So I guess now we get to ranking. We're not going to be ranking Carmine's junk. We're saving that. We saved that for the Dream Zone parody episode, which will be up by the time this this goes out.
Oh God, I cannot wait for that, and yet I can wait for that.
Yeah,
gosh.
That's gonna. I can't wait to because I'm still working with a company client right now that I'm kind of wondering if I'm gonna get to the point of like, sorry guys, I gotta go, I can't come in today. I gotta go review a porn movie.
Oh God, can't talk, guys. I give it 1 limp junk out of 5. Anyway.
Oh God. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We will get there. We will get there.
Anyway, so we should rank this episode. Aside from the wing wang doodle.
For me, this is for the physical humor. It deserves a round of 4 for me. For 4.5 actually. No, I'm gonna go with 5. 5 flat. It's mid scale. This is mid scale. The jokes are good. The physical humor is very memorable. I like how the boys come in and light up the room. That's them in pure amyl nitrate twin motion. The plot's alright. It's okay. But it's not a big memorable episode for me, and the fat phobia hovers over everything. So, that's what I'm standing behind. 5.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with like 4.5 to like 5 at most. Like on a good day when I'm in the mood for something kind of goofier, just it's background fare. But like if I was gonna seriously sit down and watch this, no, I wouldn't really sit down and seriously, unless I was binging the season. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's a there episode.
Yeah, it's a there episode. I don't know. You could get some decent headcanons out of this. You could do some decent fix-it-fic out of it.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. Yeah, 4.5, 5. Yeah. Wow, that's 2 in a row. Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
These are the worst episodes of the season, to be honest. Everything after this is gravy. Everything after this, honestly, is gravy.
You can't see it, but I'm crossing my fingers right now.
There's some great episodes coming. Great. Absolutely great.
Yeah. Cool.
Promise.
Anyway, so does that wrap us up for this week?
It does indeed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And if you would like to know more, then you can find us at Night After Night PC on Twitter or Night After Night Pod on Facebook, Tumblr, Patreon, WordPress, and YouTube. And you can check in with us, especially on the Twitter, if you would like to see some animated GIFs, little events. We do watch-alongs, polls, things like that. Just kind of little special events. And we would love to have you join our small little corner of the fandom community for Laverne and Shirley. And I guess with that all taken care of... Yeah, I know we're going somewhere next week, Lisa, but I can't tell if it's up or it's down. Feels like down.
It's upstairs and downstairs. The girls get a phone bill on which it's upstairs and downstairs. The girls receive a phone bill with an extra credit attached to it, but it turns out it's not their legally gotten goods. Laverne wants to keep the money, Shirley wants to give it back, and that causes the two of them to dream of heaven and hell. This is upstairs, downstairs.
Oh, great. Upstairs, downstairs. There's so many choices. Oh, good. Oh God. I feel a Chidi and a Agogne stomachache coming on. Oh, I'm going to go get some Tums.
Avoid the clam chowder fountains, beloveds.